2 Kings 18 1-36, through the Bible. Chapter 18. Theme: Revival and Testing under Hezekiah. Now we come to King Hezekiah. This section is so remarkable that it is not only recorded here in 2 Kings, but also in 2 Chronicles, and in the historical section of the prophecy of Isaiah. We have just seen that the northern kingdom of Israel was taken into captivity by Assyria. God gives 3 reasons why this happened. Israel disobeyed God, they doubted God, and they defied God. During the same period the southern kingdom of Judah had a very wonderful king. From this point on we shall be following only the history of the southern kingdom since the northern kingdom is out of the picture. The reason God did not send Judah into captivity at this time is because Judah did have a few good kings who were responsible for a time of revival. Hezekiah was one of these. In fact, he was the best king who reigned in the land after David. Now it came to pass in the 3rd year of Hoshea son of Elah king of Israel, that Hezekiah the son of Ahaz king of Judah began to reign. 25 years old was he when he began to reign, and he reigned 29 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name also was Abi, the daughter of Zechariah. And he did that which was right in the sight of the Lord, according to all that David his father did. 2 Kings 18 1-3. Ahaz, the father of Hezekiah, was a very wicked king, yet he had this wonderful son. This leads us to believe that the mother of Hezekiah was a very fine mother and a godly woman. We are told here that her name was Abi. Judah's revival under Hezekiah. He removed the high places, and brake the images, and cut down the groves, and brake in pieces the brassen serpent that Moses had made, for unto those days the children of Israel did burn incense to it, and he called it Nehushtan. 2 Kings 18:4. Hezekiah was a remarkable man. He led his people in a revival and began by attempting to remove idolatry from the land. This verse mentions the brazen serpent that Moses put up in the wilderness. See Numbers 21 1-9. What happened to that serpent that Moses had made? Well, it had been kept. Naturally it would be a tremendous memento, and it was kept in the temple. Then the day came when the children of Israel began to worship it. Instead of looking at it in faith as their fathers had, when they had been bitten by poisonous serpents in the wilderness as a judgment from God for rebellion, they began to worship it. Now it was a stumbling block. They had forgotten the meaning of it. The serpent pointed to Christ according to John 3:14-15, which says, "And as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, even so must the Son of Man be lifted up, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have eternal life." The brazen serpent was a symbol that was fulfilled by Christ. These people had turned the thing all around and had begun to worship the serpent instead of God. As I have studied the 7 churches of Asia Minor, I have noted that in the city of Pergamus, more correctly, Pergamum, the serpent was worshipped. It seems the children of Israel were doing the same thing. They burned incense to the brazen serpent and called it Nehushtan. Now Hezekiah broke it in pieces. It was time to get rid of it. There is a great spiritual lesson in this. There are certain organizations, certain movements, and certain methods that God has used in the past. Unfortunately, folk did not know when God was through with them, and they refused to disband them. I could name half a dozen organizations that I am confident God raised up and which served a great purpose, but which went a seed. They continued operating for no other reason than to perpetuate jobs for those they employed. They became Nehushtan. They became brazen serpents that at one time had served a purpose and were mightily used by God. Then the day came when God was through with them. I have been in churches where people have been using the same methods for years and years. They say, "This is the way we have always done it." It may be that it is time to change some of those methods. There is no monotony with God. Do you realize that Paul never gave an invitation for people to come forward after a service? Apparently Dwight L. Moody began that practice. Now most evangelists think they have to give an invitation for people to come forward, and I have seen it actually become a stumbling block. God led Moody to do it, but he may not lead you to do it. Although I was pastor in a downtown Los Angeles church and there were many converts who responded to the invitation at the Sunday services, my most solid converts were those who were saved in the Bible study on Thursday night when no invitation was given. What God leads someone else to do, he may not lead you to do. You can certainly begin worshiping the equivalent of a brazen serpent and call it Nehushtan. I have spent some time on this subject because I think it is important. Thank God that Hezekiah got rid of the serpent. I am of the opinion that many of the long-faced saints really criticized Hezekiah. They probably said, "He has gotten rid of our marvelous, wonderful, brazen serpent." Well, thank God he broke it to pieces, friend. If you have a few little idols lying around your church or in your life, I suggest you get rid of them. Maybe there is some method or some particular way you have of doing things that you ought to change. He trusted in the Lord God of Israel, so that after him was none like him among all the kings of Judah, nor any that were before him. For he held fast to the Lord, and departed not from following him, but kept his commandments, which the Lord commanded Moses. 2 Kings 18:5-6. If there was none after Hezekiah to compare to him, and none before him, then we must conclude that he was outstanding. He is on a par with David. He was a great king who was mightily used of God. That is the reason that his life is given to us in 3 books of the Old Testament, 2 Kings, 2 Chronicles, and Isaiah. The first invasion of Judah. And the Lord was with him, and he prospered whithersoever he went forth, and he rebelled against the king of Assyria, and served him not. He smote the Philistines, even unto Gaza, and the borders thereof, from the tower of the watchman to the fenced city. And it came to pass in the 4th year of King Hezekiah, which was the 7th year of Hoshea son of Elah king of Israel, that Shalmaneser king of Assyria came up against Samaria, and besieged it. And at the end of 3 years they took it, even in the 6th year of Hezekiah, that is the 9th year of Hoshea king of Israel, Samaria was taken. 2 Kings 18:7-10. Hezekiah was a courageous king. Under his command Judah rebelled against Assyria and defeated the Philistines. During the 6th year of Hezekiah's reign, Shalmaneser, king of Assyria, took Samaria. The northern kingdom was defeated. Now there was nothing, not even a barbed wire fence, between Assyria and Judah. King Hezekiah was in a bad spot. And the king of Assyria did carry away Israel unto Assyria, and put them in Halah and in Habor by the river of Gozan, and in the cities of the Medes, because they obeyed not the voice of the Lord their God, but transgressed his covenant, and all that Moses the servant of the Lord commanded, and would not hear them, nor do them. 2 Kings 18:11-12. This is a review of Israel's captivity. And in the 14th year of King Hezekiah, Sennacherib king of Assyria came up against all the fortified cities of Judah and took them. Then Hezekiah king of Judah sent to the king of Assyria at Lachish, saying, I have done wrong, turn away from me, whatever you impose on me I will pay. And the king of Assyria assessed Hezekiah king of Judah 300 talents of silver and 30 talents of gold. 2 Kings 18:13-14. Hezekiah tried to rebel against Assyria, but he was not successful. Because he did not succeed, he will have to pay. At that time did Hezekiah cut off the gold from the doors of the temple of the Lord, and from the pillars which Hezekiah king of Judah had overlaid, and gave it to the king of Assyria. 2 Kings 18:16. The second invasion of Judah by Sennacherib. And the king of Assyria sent Tartan and Rabsaris and Rabshakeh from Lachish to King Hezekiah with a great host against Jerusalem. And they went up and came to Jerusalem. And when they were come up, they came and stood by the conduit of the upper pool, which is in the highway of the fuller's field. 2 Kings 18:17. Sennacherib threatens Jerusalem with a great army. And when they had called to the king, there came out to them Eliakim the son of Hilkiah, which was over the household, and Shebna the scribe, and Joah the son of Asaph the recorder. And Rabshakeh said unto them, Speak ye now to Hezekiah, thus saith the great king, the king of Assyria, what confidence is this wherein thou trustest? 2 Kings 18:18-19. Rabshakeh attempts to frighten them by suggesting 2 things. Thou sayest, but they are but vain words. I have counsel and strength for the war. Now on whom dost thou trust, that thou rebellest against me? Now, behold, thou trustest upon the staff of this bruised reed, even upon Egypt, on which if a man lean, it will go into his hand, and pierce it. So is Pharaoh king of Egypt unto all that trust on him. 2 Kings 18:20-21. Knowing that Hezekiah is expecting aid from Egypt, Rabshakeh ridicules Egypt as a bruised reed that would snap and pierce his hand the moment he put any weight on it. He says, You won't get any help from Egypt. Now he attempts to knock out the second prop. But if ye say unto me, We trust in the Lord our God, is not that he, whose high places and whose altars Hezekiah hath taken away, and hath said to Judah and Jerusalem, Ye shall worship before this altar in Jerusalem. 2 Kings 18:22. When Hezekiah took away the high places, Sennacherib thought he was taking down the altars to the living and true God. He did not understand that Hezekiah was cleansing the land of pagan altars and idols, and that his action was obedience, not sacrilege. The Jews were to worship God at the one altar in Jerusalem, and they approached him only through a bloody sacrifice. It looked to Sennacherib, however, as if Hezekiah had thrown over his God just when he needed him most. Now therefore, I pray thee, give pledges to my lord the king of Assyria, and I will deliver thee 2,000 horses, if thou be able on thy part to set riders upon them. 2 Kings 18:23. This is an insult and a strong expression of contempt for the military power of Judah. Then said Eliakim the son of Hilkiah, and Shebna, and Joah, unto Rabshakeh, Speak, I pray thee, to thy servants in the Syrian language, for we understand it, and talk not with us in the Jews' language in the ears of the people that are on the wall. 2 Kings 18:26. The Jews were lined up on the wall of the city of Jerusalem hearing all that was going on. The officials of Judah say, Speak to us in the Syrian language, we can understand it. Old Rabshakeh said, Not on your life, this is going on television. He was really demoralizing the troops. Then Rabshakeh stood and cried with a loud voice in the Jews' language, and spake, saying, Hear the word of the great king, the king of Assyria. Thus saith the king, Let not Hezekiah deceive you, for he shall not be able to deliver you out of his hand. 2 Kings 18:28-29. He is getting through to the people, brainwashing them with propaganda. Neither let Hezekiah make you trust in the Lord, saying, The Lord will surely deliver us, and this city shall not be delivered into the hand of the king of Assyria. Hearken not to Hezekiah, for thus saith the king of Assyria, Make an agreement with me by a present, and come out to me, and then eat ye every man of his own vine, and every one of his fig tree, and drink ye every one the waters of his cistern, until I come and take you away to a land like your own land, a land of corn and wine, a land of bread and vineyards, a land of oil, olive, and of honey, that ye may live, and not die. And hearken not unto Hezekiah, when he persuadeth you, saying, The Lord will deliver us. 2 Kings 18:30-32. He is attempting to persuade the Jews to surrender. He repeats that neither Hezekiah nor God can help them. He promises that their lives will be spared only through surrender. He is saying, Make terms with me and I'll leave you in peace to enjoy your own homes for a time. Then he adds, Even if we transplant you, it will be to a beautiful land like your own. Hath any of the gods of the nations delivered at all his land out of the hand of the king of Assyria? Where are the gods of Hamath, and of Arpad? Where are the gods of Sepharvaim, Hena, and Iva? Have they delivered Samaria out of mine hand? Who are they among all the gods of the countries, that have delivered their country out of mine hand, that the Lord should deliver Jerusalem out of mine hand? 2 Kings 18:33-35. To Rabshakeh this seemed a crushing and unanswerable argument. It was true that no God had ever delivered his people out of the king of Assyria's power. Of course he did not know that the gods of the other countries were no gods, while the living God was the Lord of the whole earth. But the people held their peace, and answered him not a word, for the king's commandment was, saying, Answer him not. 2 Kings 18:36. Whatever impression his arguments may have made on the hearts of those who heard, no one said a word.